Somewhere in San Francisco in 1955, there was an apartment on Chestnut Street. From the outside, it looked completely ordinary. Inside, the US government had set up a program so classified, so disturbing, that when investigators finally uncovered it decades later, the man who ran it had already ordered every single document destroyed. What they found anyway changed everything Americans thought they knew about their own government. This is the story of Project MKUltra, and almost none of it is theory. The fear that started it all. To understand why this happened, you have to go back to 1950. The United States was terrified, not of bombs, not of armies, of something far stranger, the idea that the Soviet Union had figured out how to control the human mind. American soldiers returning from Korea were coming back different, hollow. Some of them were repeating communist talking points on camera. The US government didn't understand how, and that terrified them. CIA Director Allen Dulles had a name for it: brain warfare. In a speech in 1953, he stood in front of a crowd and condemned Soviet mind control tactics as, quote, abhorrent, antithetical to everything America stood for. 3 days later, he secretly approved a program to do the exact same thing. The program was called MKUltra. Its stated mission: find a way to control the human mind. Its actual record, one of the most disturbing chapters in American government history. How it worked. MKUltra launched officially on April 3, 1953. It was run by a CIA chemist named Sidney Gottlieb. Gottlieb was brilliant, soft-spoken, and deeply strange. He kept goats on a farm in Virginia. He made his own wine. He also spent years trying to figure out how to erase and reprogram the human mind. The program had 149 separate sub-projects. It ran experiments at universities, hospitals, prisons, and mental health institutions, many of them completely unaware they were being used as cover. The CIA funneled money through fake foundations, shell organizations with academic-sounding names, so the research would look legitimate. The primary tool? LSD. In the early 1950s, Gottlieb became convinced that LSD could be the key, that if you gave someone enough of it, or the right amount at the right moment, you could break down their resistance, extract information, or reprogram their behavior entirely. So he bought the world's entire supply. In 1953, the CIA paid $240,000, equivalent to over $4 million today, to acquire every drop of LSD available from a Swiss pharmaceutical company called Sandoz Laboratories. Then they started testing it on volunteers, on prisoners, on mental patients, on people who had absolutely no idea what was happening to them. One mental patient in Kentucky was given LSD every single day for 174 consecutive days. Not a typo, 174 days. An internal CIA document described the ideal target as, quote, people who could not fight back. Operation Midnight Climax. But perhaps the most audacious operation within MKUltra was one so brazen, it's almost difficult to believe it was real. It was called Operation Midnight Climax. In 1955, the CIA set up a series of safe houses, ordinary-looking apartments in San Francisco and New York. The address of the first one? 225 Chestnut Street, San Francisco. The CIA then hired women to bring men back to these locations, men who had no idea where they actually were or what was about to happen to them. Once inside, those men were given drinks laced with LSD without their knowledge, without any consent, and CIA agents watched from behind two-way mirrors. They took notes, they wrote reports, they studied what happened to a person's mind when the drug took hold without warning. An agent named George White later wrote a letter to his boss, Sidney Gottlieb, looking back on the operation. The letter still exists. In it, he wrote, and I want you to hear this directly, that he, quote, toiled wholeheartedly in the vineyards because it was fun, fun, fun. He described a career where he could, quote, lie, kill, cheat, steal, deceive, with the sanction and blessing of the All-Highest.
This is a US government employee writing about conducting covert drug experiments on American citizens, calling it fun. The operation ran for 9 years.
The man who didn't make it home. Not everyone survived MKUltra. Frank Olson was a scientist, a biochemist, a husband and father of 3 who worked for the U.S. Army's Biological Research Program at Fort Detrick, Maryland. On the evening of November 19, 1953, Olson attended what he believed was a routine work retreat in rural Maryland. After dinner, his drink was secretly spiked with LSD by Sidney Gottlieb himself. Olson had no idea what was happening to him. By the next morning, he was a completely different person, erratic, distressed, barely functioning. 9 days later, on November 28, 1953, Frank Olson fell from the 10th floor of the Statler Hotel in New York City. The official story at the time, suicide, stress from his job. His family was told nothing about the LSD, nothing about MKUltra, nothing about what had really happened to him in those 9 days. They would not learn the truth for 22 years. In 1975, buried on page 37 of a government report investigating CIA misconduct, investigators found a single line, a mention of an unnamed Army scientist who had been given LSD without his knowledge and died. That scientist was Frank Olson. Within 10 days of that report going public, Olson's family was sitting in the Oval Office receiving a personal apology from President Gerald Ford. But the questions didn't stop there. In 1994, Olson's sons had their father's body exhumed. A forensics team examined the remains. What they found changed the official cause of death from suicide to simply unknown. The forensics team found evidence of blunt force trauma to the head that had likely occurred before the fall. To this day, no one has ever been charged with anything related to Frank Olson's death. The cover-up and the paper trail. By 1964, MKUltra had officially ended. Gottlieb concluded after years of experiments on unwitting Americans that mind control was not actually achievable. But here is where the story gets even colder. In 1973, knowing that investigations into CIA misconduct were coming, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered the destruction of every MKUltra file, every document, every record, every experiment log. Gone. Except they missed some. In 1977, a CIA employee conducting a routine records search stumbled across 7 boxes of financial documents that had been misfiled in a budget office and therefore never destroyed. Those documents detailed 149 sub-projects, the names of 185 researchers, the institutions, the front organizations, the money. Congressional hearings followed. Senator Ted Kennedy presided. Former CIA employees were called to testify. Most said they couldn't remember anything. No one was ever prosecuted. Not a single person faced criminal charges for conducting non-consensual drug experiments on American citizens, experiments that violated the U.S. Constitution, the Nuremberg Code, and basic human decency.
The long shadow. MKUltra has never fully gone away. Ken Kesey, the author of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, was a participant in MKUltra experiments at Stanford. He later said those experiences shaped his entire worldview and writing. The LSD that Sidney Gottlieb bought for the US government, intended to control humanity, inadvertently helped fuel the counterculture movement of the 1960s. The very generation that would go on to protest the government that experimented on them. Stranger Things, Wormwood, countless films and documentaries. MKUltra has seeped into the cultural imagination because the truth, when it finally came out, was more disturbing than any fiction. And documents are still being declassified. A new collection of over 1,200 records, released in December 2024, continues to fill in the gaps that the 1973 document destruction left behind. Here is what we know for certain. From 1953 to the early 1960s, the United States government conducted covert experiments on its own citizens without consent, without oversight, and without accountability. When they were caught, they destroyed the evidence. When investigators uncovered what remained, nobody went to prison. The man who ran the program eventually retired to a farm in Virginia, made wine, and kept goats. Frank Olson's family never got justice, and most Americans have never heard this story. If this is the kind of history that doesn't get taught in classrooms, the kind that gets buried on page 37 of a government report, then this channel exists to find it. Subscribe, because there is a lot more where this came from.